What's up, angels? My name is Chelsea and welcome back to my channel. Okay, so for this week's video I thought we would actually do another famous paranormal case. This case is another case that actually a film was based on it, but it's not The Conjuring. I'll get to that one. That one's a big one. This one is the story of 30 East Drive. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, so let's get into this story. Obviously it's all based on real events. Again, there was a film made out of it, which I'll talk about in a little while. So in August of 1966, the Pritchard family moved into 30 East Drive in Pontefract. Things started to happen very quickly. It was in the August, so the parents were on a summer holiday and the children and their grandmother stayed in the house. Not long after this, it was around the summer bank holiday of that year in August, both the son Philip and their grandmother experienced a chalk-like dust falling from below head height. So usually with dust you'd expect it to come from the ceiling, but no, it appeared like a layer here. I don't know if you can see, yeah, and then fell slowly down. So that's what they experienced. Obviously they thought this was unusual, so they called their aunt over so that she could witness the dust, but also so that she could help clean up. Their aunt then went into the kitchen where the kitchen supplies were held, but slipped on a pool of water that just had appeared out of nowhere in the kitchen. They checked everywhere, there was nowhere for the water to have come from. They then obviously tried to clean this up. However, every time they would clear a pool of water up, another one would appear a metre away and they'd have to clear that one, but these pools were appearing out of nowhere. Okay, so this was the start of what was several years, a very long time, of this sort of stuff happening for the family. After this first occasion, green mist would come from the taps and the toilet even when the water was turned off. Lights would come on and off on their own. Cupboards would shake violently. They would be out and they'd come back and photos would be slashed with a knife. Family photos would just have a big slash mark and a knife below it, as if somebody had just not particularly liked that photo. But also they would experience a lot of levitating and thrown objects. Specifically, which was noted in my research, was that there was a big an oak sideboard for a kitchen that was very heavy, that was just thrown or levitated and thrown across the room. Okay, so the media actually dubbed this entity that was inside the house that was causing all of these things Mr. Nobody. However, the Pritchard family actually decided to name him Fred. There's a lot of skepticism on the internet about why they called him Fred. A lot of people think that it was just to normalise it and give it a name. A lot of times when stuff like this happens, a very normal name will be given to the entity, and it's also sort of a way of trying to bring back the fear attached to them. It was also said that during this time a lot of initiatives were sent to Fred to see if he would leave the house, but he just refused. He was not having any of it. And a lot of people will probably also be thinking, why didn't they just leave if it was getting that bad? Jean, who was the mother of the family, was a very house-proud woman, and she was not being thrown out by a ghost. No, she wasn't having any of it, so she decided that they would stay there and it wasn't going to scare her, which is pretty badass if you ask me. Whilst all this was happening, a lot of exorcisms were tried to perform a lot of exorcisms in the house. Okay, so these exorcisms were actually unsuccessful, every single one of them, but they'd also be met by a lot of Fred's reactions. So it's said that Fred would holy water would seep through the walls as the exorcism was happening, or people would be shoved up and down the stairs as they were trying to perform the exorcism. But the one that kind of blows my mind is that a lot of people that were there when these exorcisms happened would experience hands, like phantom hands coming through the wall, and as these exorcisms were happening, like prayers and Christian music was being played throughout the house, but these hands would come out the wall and it'd be like it was like conducting the Christian music. Evidently he was not leaving. It's actually said that a lot of the stuff that Fred did, this spirit Fred, that Fred did was actually funny. Like, of course he did some really horrific things, and we will get onto those because it does get a lot worse, but a lot of the stuff he was funny and amazing, and like he had a very good sense of humour. And one of these things that I found out in my research is that they had a skeptic aunt who was in the kitchen, and Fred actually took milk out the fridge and poured it over the top of her, which Diane and Phil, who were the children of the family, thought was absolutely hilarious. I can just picture it, this woman being in the kitchen like, ghosts aren't real, these things don't happen. Ooh. Oh, well, that's a coincidence. Okay, so ordinarily, actually, poltergeists aren't known for their aggressive and violent nature. Obviously, a lot of the cases that we would hear about, and when you see paranormal YouTubers and just ghost hunting shows like Ghost Adventures and Most Haunted, they will specifically go to these locations where the poltergeists are known for their aggressive behaviour, but it's not actually one of their typical characteristics. A lot of times, poltergeists do just like to have a laugh and they like to cause trouble. If anyone has ever seen Harry Potter, or has, well, you wouldn't have seen him, but if you've read the Harry Potter books, there's a poltergeist in that and his name is Peeves, and he is just known to cause nothing but trouble for people, but it's just his sick sense of humour and he likes to wind people up. That's not to say that poltergeists cannot cause this, because obviously, as we've seen, I covered the Enfield poltergeist a couple of weeks ago, and obviously if you've seen The Conjuring or know the story of the Perron family, or you watch that video, you'll know that they can be quite aggressive. However, it's not one of their main characteristics. It wasn't actually until Diane and Philip, who were the children of the Pritchard family, got to like the end of their teenage years that he actually started to get quite aggressive. So as I said, Fred wasn't known to be aggressive, but it was Diane that he solely focused his attention on after a while. So as I've said before, with these sort of cases, does seem to be like one person who becomes the epicenter of the poltergeist affection. I don't know if they're being affectionate. That's what I'm going to use it. Like that they are the one person, the epicenter of everything that happens. And other people can experience small things, but they're the epicenter of it, which was unfortunately Diane in this case, as she got older, seems to be like the one person that they go for. So as Diane got to the end of her teenage years, she would have a couple of bruises and scratch marks, and just like, it seemed to be like he was just testing his boundaries, until one day her hair stood all on end. She had really long, beautiful blonde hair, and all went and stood on its end, and then she was dragged kicking and screaming up the stairs by an unseen entity, which obviously left her traumatized and terrorized. And yeah, and then she was found with scratch marks around her neck and visible finger marks where somebody had obviously grabbed onto her neck, and that's how she was dragged up, was by her neck. Okay, so that is not the end of the Pritchard story, but it was a lot of the same after that, and I think eventually once the children had moved out, Jean actually did try and stay there for as long as she could. However, a film was made about the happenings of 30 East Drive. It's very loosely based on it. If anyone's seen it, it's where the grandfather clock falls down the stairs. I think that's a big part of the movie. If I can find it, I'll put the clip here.
What was that?
Bloody hell do you think you're playing at?
But yes, so a man named Bill, who is a movie producer, actually produced the film When the Lights Went Out, which is based on 30 East Drive. Now, he purchased the house from the Pritchard family, and he thought it would be an amazing marketing technique to have the premiere of this film in the house it was very loosely based on. And to be honest, he was very skeptical about Fred. He thought that either Fred didn't exist at all and it was just a figment of the imagination of the Pritchard family, or if he did exist, he was probably long gone. However, since living there, since having the house, he has experienced multiple things and is now convinced that Fred is real, and he is a very big part of the house. He's actually known to be one of the most violent poltergeists in Britain now, is our Fred. The house is now looked after by the next door neighbour, who her name's Carol. She actually looks after the house, and she's had a lot of experiences with him as well. And she actually said that a lot of the stuff that was happening seemed to quieten down until the film was made and until Bill bought the house from the Pritchard family. And then everything seemed to start to kick off again. Okay, so 30 East Drive is now currently open for visitors. Okay, so some YouTubers have actually already been. If you watch the Overnight channel, which is Elton and Corey and their pals, they went with Dan from Exploring with Fighters. And I actually think I heard Dan in one of his videos recently say that he's actually now been or is going to do the Poltergeist House, which is just 30 East Drive, but it's now called the Poltergeist House. For a lot of reasons, mostly because there's a poltergeist in it, Chelsea, that would make sense. But yes, so they've been, I will pop their video below if you want to watch an investigation of that. As well as this, the Most Haunted team did go quite a while ago, and there is a video of that as well, so I will add that if I can find that to the description below. But if you do just type it in on YouTube, it should pop up. I also did a little bit of research into how you would book it and what goes into booking it. So the owners of 30 East Drive, so Bill, the movie producer, doesn't recommend it. He does not recommend that you come to visit 30 East Drive, and he wants you to know that you're coming at your own decision. Nobody can force you to go. Obviously, he would prefer you not to, which is odd, but okay. So a lot of people have been there. You actually have to sign a waiver which rids Bill of any liability in case of injury or harm whilst you're in the house. And yeah, to sign a waiver, you are not covered by their insurance if you go in the house and something happens to you. It's a whole big deal. They've also set rules. So there are a few rules. For if you do go in the house, you're not allowed to use Ouija boards, which I would never anyway, as we've discovered in my previous videos. You are not allowed to attempt an exorcism for obvious reasons, but it hasn't worked in the past, so it probably wouldn't work now. And if anything, you're just gonna piss Bill off. Not Bill, Fred. You're gonna piss Fred off, and you don't want to be doing that, because then you're in for a good night or bad night, depending on how you look at it. Fred, the poltergeist, also has his own little rule, and that is that he likes the kettle in the kitchen to be unplugged but remain full and whilst not in use, and he's very, very specific about this. He's actually known to throw one of his tantrums if you disobey his one rule, which is don't touch his kettle. Evidently likes to make himself a cup of tea, and it's probably just best that you leave him alone. I want to be very honest with you guys. I have emailed Bill myself to go on a paranormal investigation down a 30 East Drive. However, the wait list is over a year long, so it would be a while until you guys got to experience any of those videos. And maybe we should go do some less spooky stuff first before we go straight into 30 East Drive. Still spooky, not as spooky. So maybe look out for that. I have to talk to my friends and see which three of them would be down for coming with me. So that could be really exciting to look for the future. There are no dates actually until Christmas Eve. Currently he emailed me back today and I've got all the information. So that could be something to look forward to. But I think that's it for this video, guys. So let me know if you want to see me and my friends go to 30 East Drive and do the Poltergeist House, or if there's any other locations that you would like me to go to with my friends, or if there's any other paranormal cases you would like me to cover. Like I've said before, you just have to DM me on Instagram or message me here and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Okay guys, that's it for this week's video. Remember to let me know if there's any places you would like me and my friends to investigate, whether you think we should just send it with 30 East Drive as soon as we can get in there. Or if there's any other paranormal cases you would like me to cover, just let me know down below, or you can DM me on Instagram and I will get back to you. I hope everyone has an incredible week, and I will see you next week on Friday for another video. Bye!